Good evening, Midlands African Chamber. Welcome to another edition of our Power Hour, brought to you by our strong champion supporters, Wells Fargo. We want to take this opportunity to thank those who support us, Wells Fargo, most definitely, for this opportunity to bring with you tonight, a special speaker, Mynesha Spencer. And before we start, it's always important to run down the events and occurrences that are happening within the chamber. First and foremost, if you had not received our email, please join our email chain. There's much information that goes out on a monthly basis that you do not want to miss. But if you are in need of employment, I would like to invite those who are in the area. The Midlands African Chamber is looking for a program coordinator. Please reach out to the chamber. We need as much support as you need support in your businesses. Second and not least, we had a roll call last week, and roll calls are still going on. That is an opportunity for you as entrepreneurs and business owners to connect with other like-minded business owners and entrepreneurs. That is something you do not want to miss. In addition, we also have what's coming up is our Rising CEO program based out of our foundation. That is a program that it's a 10-week program for underserved teens to learn leadership, technology, and entrepreneurial skills. That program also gives them an opportunity to win $500 for a business idea and score internship opportunities. The program is scheduled to run from August 24th through October 26th. Again, that is not if you have a teenager, you know somebody who needs some skills and looking to become an entrepreneur, that is an opportunity. Get them plugged in now, early on. In addition to our Rising CEO program, there's also the Suit Up program. This is an opportunity for individuals to donate your cash or suits until August 30th to give a young professional who may not be able to afford the outfits the availability to be professionally dressed. That is going on. You may drop it off in our multiple locations, whether it's in our CASA for Douglas County, located at 2412 St. Mary's, or even at the Midlands African Chamber office. And again, we are on for another Gratitude Gala. It's currently scheduled for November 11th. We are asking for sponsors. If you are a business and you would like to sponsor, please get a hold of us. But in addition, we also have a nomination deadline for those who want to be nominated for this Gratitude Gala. The categories include Inclusion Leader, a nonprofit or philanthropist Star of the Year, a partnership or MAC champion, a large business of the year, a small business of the year, a volunteer of the year, and our Founders Award. This gala is going to be held at the Metro Community College. This is an event that you do not want to miss. This is an opportunity to have gratitude and give thanks for those who are fighting the good fight. We also want to mention that the Midlands African Chamber, we were incepted a couple of years ago. And of course, the chamber is growing and we are getting better and stronger each and every day. And one of the things that the chamber is now having opportunity for our members to do is have marketing opportunities. So if you are in the process of marketing your business, and you would like to market your business exclusively with other businesses within the chamber and our partners, reach out to us at info@midlandsafricanchamber.com or call us at 402-881-0343. This is a way that we can help your business reach new heights. And part of our mission is not only to, provide this empowerment, which is why we hold the Power Hour, but it's also to champion and grow your business. This is the goal of the chamber, is to champion, grow, and scale businesses as well as empower. So don't miss that opportunity for marketing opportunities. And without any further ado, I want to thank upfront my good friend Mynesha Spencer for taking the opportunity to join us tonight and to share with us, how and why it's very important for organizations, corporations, and other entities to support businesses that look like you and me. Mynesha, thank you. Welcome to Power Hour.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be on the platform. I have felt for a couple of years now, since you all's inception, that, man, I can't wait for the day that I get to jump on Power Hour. And before that, it was, man, I can't wait for the day that we can sign up and garner membership with the good stuff thing. So I'm super thrilled to be here representing all of us together.
And thank you so much. I know, there's a lot that goes on, and primarily I want to say there is a Black Business Month. Am I correct on that?
You are absolutely correct. And it is August, right? And so there's no more timely, place to have this conversation rather than today or sometime during this month. And so we have, of course, been pushing Black Business Month and wishing everyone out there that is a part of the free market enterprise, from consumers to business owners, individuals who are economists, right? Professionals in every sphere, cross-professional industry. We are wishing everyone sincerely a happy Black Business Month.
Absolutely. So if you did not know, this month, and is not February, it's not 28 days, it's 31 days, and we are celebrating Black Business Month. And to celebrate Black Business Month, Mynesha's here to speak to us about how we can get the resources and get the information to become better businesses. And so to begin with, Mynesha, can you tell us about yourself?
Well, sure, I can do that. I think there's no better person than me to talk about me. So thank you, Shay. I just want to say this is such a powerful platform, and I'm so grateful to be on this medium today, or this evening, rather. I'll share a little bit about me. I am a proud, born and raised Omahan. Was born in Omaha, grew up in Omaha, graduated at Northwest Husky. So all my Huskies on the live today, we appreciate your attendance. I have to be honest with you, though, Shay. Growing up was not peaches and roses. Very cool beginnings. They say your net worth is your network, or what have you. And if that were true, or if I let my circumstances define that or prove true for me in that case, there's no way I would be here operating a business across 3 states now over the last 6 years.
So wow.
I will just say that. But more specifically about me growing up in Omaha, I hated it so much. I had a lot of negative experiences growing up in my adolescent years. And Omaha was just not favorable to me. I talk a little bit about this on some other publication features, but I did not see myself represented in ways that I wanted to be represented in, right? I couldn't go. I remember, like yesterday, attending Northwest High School in AP courses. And my favorite course was AP English. I was a writer. To this day, I'm a writer. And I just look across the classroom, never saw myself represented, not by way of the student body, not represented. I mean, and let's be clear, Northwest it's a public school.
Yep.
Start to look at AP courses and honors courses. We need to know what individuals like myself, who look like you and I, are up against, should they take on something like that. And of course, I accepted the challenge, my father being such a history buff and an educator in his own right. So I had no choice, right, but to kind of step up to the plate and take on those rigorous courses. But in that rigor, you weren't necessarily only challenged by, course curriculum. You were also challenged by the social interactions, the social conditioning that both, were taught to you in one medium or another, and likewise that which was taught to your white counterparts, right, or your peers. And so for me, growing up in Omaha and during all of my high school curriculum, I even started out in some of those AP courses, particularly that second half of my high school year. I started out attending school on University of Nebraska at Omaha's campus. So I arrived from Northwest and go over to UNO and take like AP government, AP history, and AP English, which were credit courses. By way of an accredited university, of course, the University of Nebraska, I'm sorry. And there, right, that same reality proved true for me. The social aspect was almost non-existent. It was homogeneous, to be quite clear. The professor, the faculty, um, even my counselor I was assigned on UNO's campus, right? None of them looked like me. And that reality extended beyond the classroom, even to say, when I think about professional hierarchy, I never saw CEOs, chief operating officers. I never saw, anyone in the professional hierarchy who looked like me growing up. And so for me, that was enough, in my mind to say, I've had enough of Omaha, or maybe even, much to my naivety, like Omaha has had enough of me, and it's time for me to go and explore my wings and try and figure out, spread my wings and explore a little bit and try and figure out what I wanted to do, what it was I wanted to cultivate, and more importantly, the legacy I wanted to leave behind. And so it's no surprise then, right? The soonest chance I got, I relocated. I left Omaha, Shay. I left Omaha as a young, bright, energetic, determined young person. I attended the Texas Southern University, and I do say the very intentionally, the prestigious Texas Southern University, which is, for those folks who are joining us who may not be aware, is one of the very first few historically Black colleges and universities that sprang up across the South. Of course, after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1865. And so what you get is a population of individuals, kind of with this newfound freedom that they're acquiring, right? And they're supposed to kind of make do, right? And we understand also that separate but equal is the law of the land at the point by which slavery, right, becomes abolished, right? And so the university, Rice University, across the street from Texas Southern University, would have only been open to admitting individuals who did not look like you and I, right? So that is the reason, right? Also, the importance associated with historically Black colleges and universities. These were schools founded by us, for us, right? To attend. I am such a proud graduate, if you cannot tell, then to have matriculated through the Honors College, the Thomas F. Freeman Honors College at Texas Southern University, where I studied and obtained an Administration of Justice degree. I went on, of course, had this idea that I would for sure be studying law someday. My father would, every Saturday we would have to. It was almost like it was an event in our household. We looked forward to it. It was crazy. In retrospect, I think like we had to be the most studious children to want to do this. But on Saturday mornings, and I use the word invite loosely, Father would invite us, my siblings and I, to watch and engage in the PBS series, Eyes on a Prize documentary. I think it was a Ken Burns narrated program that came on TV, and I was so intrigued, particularly with the modern day civil rights movement. And so we would watch a lot of the, Black historical figures, Thurgood Marshall, um, I mean, you name it, Dr. Martin Luther King, of course, Malcolm X, but even some of those less popular individuals like Marcus Garvey, right? Like this entire movement. And I just, honestly, in watching that, I didn't know it then, but I really do believe that a change agent was being born. And I think very intentionally, my father kind of cultivated that and planted those seeds very early on. And so it's no surprise then that after matriculating at Texas Southern University, I went on to study, and this was just a kind of by way of an opportunity that our foreign language department offered at Texas Southern University. I wound up attending the University of Salamanca in Salamanca, Spain, where I matriculated with a second bachelor's in Spanish. Yeah, and as time goes and passes, I'm not as fluent as I once was, and that is such to my detriment for sure. But in my earlier years, I had planned out and kind of mapped out this idea that, man, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to be a Spanish speaking attorney. I'm going to help and kind of alleviate the sort of injustices that I thought plagued Black and Brown communities. And since specifically I lived in Houston at the time, I thought for sure one of the things that would set me, aside or set me apart from my competition, right, other attorneys, was to have that bilingual skill and be able to speak with, defendants and individuals seeking services who needed my support. So that was my thought behind the Spanish degree. But I want to take a moment, if I may, and talk a little bit about my experience in Spain. And then I'll get to the rest of my story here momentarily. But while I was in Spain, and this is kind of how like all of us together code was formulated, like in my mind, right, softly formulated, no hard formulation. We're not talking business plan or anything like that yet. But this is, I'm like 4 years beyond undergrad, right, with my first degree. I'm now in an entirely different country, and I'm there with like 8 different students who came from TSU, from Texas Southern University, and we're on the campus of the University of Salamanca. And for some of us, we're immersed in all the culture, right? We're staying with host families who only speak Spanish and the sort. And I went with 2 close friends, Esther and Kathleen, one who is El Salvadorian, the other who is from Ecuador, or I'm sorry, El Salvador. She'll kill me if she sees this and I get it wrong. So I have to make that correction on the record. But from El Salvador. And I didn't know anything of this prior to arriving to Spain, but realized once I got there that the history between Castilian Spaniards and individuals who otherwise identify as Hispanic from other countries is very similar to the history of blacks and whites in America. And I had no knowledge of that. That's not what they were teaching us in our Spanish courses at TSU. And so upon arriving there, I'm like, wait, why are you saying lunche and it's almuerzo, right? Like I'm trying to figure this all out. And of course, there's different dialects and the sort, and all of the complexities associated with humans, right? Which is a beautiful, beautiful thing for me. But it proved to be very problematic for both Esther and Kathleen there in Spain. And it was the first time that I ever realized in my entire life that, man, as a young black girl, I have privilege, right? Like then I was a young black girl studying in a degree program. And it wasn't necessarily racial privilege, which is very popular, right? That's what we hear in especially in DEI in the United States. But for me, there it was this newfounded nationality, like privilege that I had. I mean, there were so many natives who would jump up on the train rides into town, who wanted me to sit in their seats, who wanted me to, sit next to them. They wanted to have conversations with me. When we went to the Plaza Mayor to shop at the nearest Zara, um, no security guard was following me around. They were trying to check and make sure that I had everything I needed. It was just like bliss for me. It was so blissful. But for Kathleen Shay, they had a very different experience. I mean, they would literally come and tell me in the stores, as we're shopping, Mynesha, hurry up and purchase your items. Don't you see a security guard, watching us? And I would politely respond. I mean, just so oblivious, like, no security guard watching me. What are y'all talking about? You know? And I realized in that moment that I wanted to be a good friend. I did not want to invalidate their experiences. But I likewise did not want their negative experiences to impact such a positive one that I was having, right? Like this was as a poor kid from North Omaha, this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I do mean that because that was the only time in my whole life so far that I've ever been in Spain. But I remember seriously thinking like, man, if someone proposed to me here, I would never leave. That's how fun it was for me. And I felt like I fit in. The legal drinking age in Spain is 18. So that was, that was another incentive to stay. I'm joking. I'm so joking. But I mean, in addition to that, nude beach, just all of these things, all of these experiences that weren't afforded to me by way of my, American upbringing. So realizing that Esther and Kathleen had negative experiences, I thought to myself, man, this is seriously the same sort of issues that African Americans or any individual under any sort of marginalized or a part of, rather, any sort of marginalized group would experience in the United States, right? Because so long as social justice issues are not impacting you, you may be oblivious to them, just as I were in Spain, right? Like I'm not being followed around. I don't feel like someone is disrespecting me by correcting the wrong terminology that I use in Spanish. This is what I expect my host mom to do. It's her native language. Whereas for Esther and Kathleen, they're like, no, this is my native language and this is how I was taught. And I don't appreciate her, correcting me. If I chose this word, that's what I meant, kind of the I meant what I said what I meant mentality. But I just realized that, man, human relations is so complex. And I really wanted to do something. I wanted to take that human relations aspect further. And of course, some 6 years, 7 years later, after my experience in Spain, I did bring that kind of thought to fruition and put it into a business.
And so that essentially your own experiences got you to now where you are today. And so that experience in Spain basically was the growth of all of us together?
Not solely, but yes, you're absolutely right. It was certainly a contributing factor, right? A contributing experience, if you will. Others included, my freshman year at Texas Southern University. I think the Trayvon Martin shooting death had taken place in Florida. And I think that year, George Zimmerman was on trial. And every single news station, television on our campus at TSU played it out from start to finish.
Mm.
Not one class. I mean, the biology instructor was invested, right? I'm talking our tech instructor, right? Like computer science. Like we were having these conversations with our instructors. They weren't turning a blind eye. They weren't, saying, "Oh, this is a conversation for elsewhere, not in the classroom." Like this was the conversation, and not only was it a conversation, it was literally a charge. It was a call to action, and that is exactly how the Black and Brown, instructors engaged us that way. You need to get active. There were so many student-led marches, student-led protests. Part of our pep rally started out with, remarks from I'm forgetting. I think it was whichever civil rights attorney represented the Martin family, or Fulton family rather. Sabrina Fulton was Trayvon Martin's mother's name. I'm saying all that to say, like, yes, Spain certainly added to this pot. My father, of course, with the documentaries, of course, being presented every Saturday. We used to memorize Martin Luther King's speeches. Oh, you're laughing, but it was torture at the time. I was grateful for it now, but it was not something I was grateful for as a young person growing up at 8 years old, if you can imagine. And he would say, enunciate, So, anyways, a very different upbringing. But of course, that along with, yes, the Texas Southern University experience and understanding like why even the Tiger Walk or the T Walk is what we called it was so imperative. So many race riots happened on TSU's campus. And so just all of these kind of pivotal, yes, experiences and moments that I had experienced, yes, led me to kind of say, I wanted to establish All of Us Together Co. But beyond that, and I know you want to ask me a question, let me get this in here really quickly. I promise I'll be brief. Um, I had the opportunity, and I spent over a decade working for a federal agency. I worked for, there's three branches of government, Shay, right? There's the executive, judicial, and legislative branch of government. And I had the privilege of working for the executive branch of federal government for over a decade. And one of the entities I worked for was the United States Department of Interior. And while working for the U.S. Department of Interior, there's all these different national park sites under DOI, to include the White House, Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, right? Those popular ones. But a hidden gem, and I do believe it is a gem to this day, is the Brown versus Board of Education National Historic Site. It is located in Topeka, Kansas, which is where I matriculated through law school. And so while I was in school, I likewise worked as a DEI practitioner well before DEI ever becomes a professional industry, right? That's recognized across professional industries or professional spaces rather in America. And it was right a national museum. I say it's an international museum. We saw people from Great Britain daily, dignitaries from Spain, you name it, like people from all over would come. And so we were responsible for, in many cases, I was responsible for leading, tough conversations, what we called then ACE, which is ACE, an acronym for audience-centered dialogue, or audience-centered experiences, rather, which included facilitated dialogue. But I was like a legal tour guide. I took individuals on, tours around this building that once served as a segregated all-Black school. And it became so popular because of the 1954 Supreme Court decision associated with the legal determination, right, to end public segregation based on race for school-age children. So if anybody right now is on this live and wondering how it is that they were able to attend a public school with folks who did not look like them, it is solely because of that landmark Supreme Court case. And my experiences there, I would say, if nothing else, surely solidified the work that we do at All of Us Together Co. And I say that because you learn, right, by way of operating there, that strategies change, structures change, um, policies change, laws change, but people's hearts and minds don't always. And so the work we aim to yield is really to transform the hearts and minds of every leader, every professional, every client that we get to interact with.
On that note, which is a great tangent, because for those who are on that don't know, What is it that All of Us Together Co. does?
It's a wonderful question. I like to think of our firm as being that one-stop kind of HR shop, if you will. We do a lot of things HR, and by HR, I do mean both human resources work, but likewise a lot of human relations work. So when we say human resources, typical practices, hiring, right, diverse talent recruitment, diverse talent retention. We help aid companies and organizations with the sort of strategies they use to train a diverse workforce and so on. But even on that or relation side, I'm sorry, we do a lot of mediation, right? A lot of times folks feel like, man, we've got some DEI trouble, or we need you all for this or that, and we'll come in and we'll conduct an organizational equity audit, a comprehensive audit that speaks to a lot of benchmark standards that are comparative, in terms of size, professional industry of the organization that we're working with. And we'll find that, man, there's some generational differences here. We think that these individuals could have some mediation, or to take it a step further, we hear from HR managers, man, I've got a lot of people challenges, right? And I say, well, is it conduct or performance related? And they're like, no. And say, well, if it's personality related, then some mediation might actually help, right? Like you can't police personalities. And so we do a lot of the human work for sure. But All of Us Together Co. is literally a, a, a resource hub, if you will. We provide the strategies, solutions, we drive outcomes to provide individuals the sort of knowledge, competencies, resources, and tools necessary to become more inclusive versions of themselves. And themselves looks like leaders, corporations, organizations, government entities, schools, you name it. And I would also add there that we don't believe in this sort of one size fits all mantra. It doesn't. We don't provide general solutions at all. Even our general standard course catalog is customized to meet the sort of needs of our requesting clients for sure, because we know that that customization really does increase the likelihood that individuals will retain the information that we're sharing, right, by way of our consulting services or facilitation services. We do a lot of professional development trainings around all DEI topics. That includes multiculturalism, race, generational diversity, age diversity, you name it, everything under the umbrella from supplier diversity to human relation challenges. We'll package trainings. We'll come in, of course, and conduct audits, but even our formal finding procedures. We do a lot of discovery procedures. Some individuals can't afford a comprehensive audit, right? And quite frankly, sometimes we don't have the capacity to do it. There's only a small team of 4 of us, and so when we get some of those larger calls, we've just finished a contract working with a property management company out of Brisbane, Australia. So, our capacity is sometimes limited, and this is why, of course, we try to maintain a decent rapport with area professionals who are specializing in DEI as well, to try and forward on, our workload when we can't add on new clients, but likewise, we're just always busy, and we're always literally moving the needle forward to really stay and remain, at the forefront of kind of resolving human relation challenges.
So given the position that you're in, what do you see as some of the leading problems within the Black businesses that are out there?
That's a good question. And before I answer this question, I need to say that I am no economist, right? Like I'm no economist. I've never been a business coach, certainly an executive coach. I do a lot of coaching around kind of personal personal challenges, soft skills, technical skills, that kind of thing. But I'm no economist, and so what I will speak from is my 6 years of experience as a business owner.
So disclaimer being made.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't want anyone knocking at my door. Come tomorrow, or coming by our office and sharing their grief, or airing their grievances rather. I would say it boils down to 3 things. I really do believe this. I think one is support. I think a lot of Black businesses do not have the support that they need, and oftentimes it's because they don't even know what support they should be desiring, right? Oftentimes, if you're anything like me, I come from a very humble beginning, right? Like, the environment in which I grew up was poverty stricken. Had access to both of my parents, right? But if you live in a a poverty-stricken neighborhood, and we know the saying, right? Your network is your net worth, right? But if you live in a poverty-stricken neighborhood, your network is everyone who lives below the poverty line, right?
Yep.
Or folks who are just barely making it. And so how then do we expect these individuals who aren't taught business strategies in school, right? Like I think the only economics class I had, I was a seventh grader or an eighth grader. After that, it never crossed my curriculum at all. And so I'm saying all that to say support. Individuals don't know what they need, right? Um, the second thing I would say is we need to be creating more entrepreneurs who look like you and I, right? Like I don't think that there's 32 million businesses in America.
Okay.
30 million, right? I mean, of that, there's a very minute percentage that are owned and operated by black black individuals, black professionals, black entrepreneurs. And I think that if we could create understanding the stats, and I'll share a little bit about that for context, but understanding the stats associated with black businesses, their operating functionality, and then sustaining, we need more, just period. We need more black entrepreneurs, hands down. The third thing I would say is we need to be our resources. A lot of times people default to business loans, right, or grants. Financial resources are great, but they are not the sole source of needs, right, for a business to sustain itself. And so when I think of resources, I think of whatever value anyone can bring to the table. Sharing resources doesn't look like, you wait for a government entity to come and offer this program that needs to be offered. Sharing resources looks like us launching our supplier diversity law, right? As we go in and work with corporations, nonprofit organizations, different entities, excuse me, when we talk about inclusion from an economic standpoint looks like deeply involving underrepresented businesses into the local, regional, or national free market enterprise. And you do that by really standing up a supplier diversity strategy.
Well, so how would, for instance, I have my own law firm, and I'm based in Papillion, Nebraska. How would somebody like me get into your, diversity supply?
Yes, yes. How would you be featured as a diverse supplier? How do you be
Yes.
as our, business spotlight? It's very simple. And I don't have the link to the form, but we can drop that link to the form today. I'll make sure you have it before you post this live. We have this supplier diversity log. We simply ask for individuals to sign an attestation form. You're attesting to, yes, being a certified small business, and you are sharing. Oh, I'm looking at some notes here. There's something popping up on my my screen, but if we're all good, I'll continue on. You're gonna sign a form. Simple as that. Attesting, and you'll read through the contract and make sure that you fit all the requirements. We then do some sort of kind of I don't want to call it an analysis, but we definitely check credentials. I will say that. Oftentimes we partner with a number of different local entities, those of which I'll name when we get to the resources section of this presentation. But we want to feature and highlight individuals who are, of course, underrepresented in the free market enterprise, understanding that they come with a set of unique challenges. And sometimes those unique challenges look like even trying to do business, right? When we say support Black businesses, we're not saying just share a post. We're not just like a picture. A lot of times, these corporations can really stand up small businesses. And you do that by having some sort of system in place. And we use that along with our supplier diversity, our program. And so, whenever and I shared this just briefly about this, whenever we are going in to conduct an organizational audit, we're making certain that individuals then, by way of our priority recommendations, cautionary recommendations, have kind of a litany of businesses that they can tap for resources, services, and goods, right? So if you know that you're a medical supplier and you're looking for, I don't know, say cotton swabs, right? We try and match you seriously with a diverse supplier who is selling cotton swabs. Maybe we have found these individuals on Amazon. Maybe they're local, what have you, but we want to be able to pair individuals with the sort of goods and services they're seeking. It's not enough for us to say, oh, you need to work with a Black business, or oh, you should support small businesses. We want to really be that difference maker, provide you with some recommendations where you can kind of leave out the door or kind of check off a list. Here's what you're working from.
Now, when you go back and say that you vet these companies, right? You're also speaking of a matter of, and I'm just going to use the term, you know, Black excellence, right? Like it is not just a matter of you can just post up your sign and say, I can sell you some cotton swabs where you've never sold cotton swabs before and you have no background or experience doing so. You're looking for people to be in this supply chain to be top of their class.
You're absolutely correct. Yes. There's an old saying, it's our company motto, but what we do well. What we don't do well, we don't do at all. It is exactly what we expect out of our diversifiers who come on as diverse vendors. The standard is set. We know that Black businesses operate from a standard of excellence. Those credentials and kind of check-in or follow-ups that we do is really to make sure that we are providing individuals with the cream of the crop. We don't want any individual confusing the reality of a hustler from a business owner, right? So there's a real distinction between the two. We are able and capable of making that distinction for sure. I will also say there's a lot of people who kind of spring up and say, "Oh, I do DEI," right? But the reason why we are 6 years into business, operating out of 3 states now, 3 locale areas, is because of our ability to really deliver on quality. We don't do any advertising or marketing in the state of Nebraska. We have not contract we've ever had been literally by way of referral. And so I say that proudly. That's no indication of, solid business, quality experiences, excellent professionalism, then I don't know what is. But I'm saying that to say we set the standard and we expect likewise for our diverse vendors to stay or at least raise the bar.
Okay. And so with getting support, so number one, it was a matter of knowing what support you need, right? And a lot of, Black-owned businesses, brown Black-owned businesses, we start off, but we don't actually know the support that we need. So I would call this a lack of social capital to actually know how to, instead of being the manufacturer of widgets, you now are getting the support. So you're the CEO of widgets. Am I understanding that correctly on what it needs to be able to move beyond the hustling stage of just, grinding out and hustling and buying and selling to now owning and operating the business?
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And you made a comment, and so I'm gonna go here and address this just for the sake of time in a very fashion. You said Black and brown, and there's something that I kind of want to touch on because we oftentimes in the field of professional diversity, equity, and inclusion, right, strategies and outcomes, we often say people of color or Black and brown communities. It's kind of a catch-all phrase almost. But I'm specifically speaking today about Black businesses and the support of Black businesses due to it, of course, being the month of observation, recognition of Black Business Month. But beyond that, my hope is really to drive some points home. And here's why I think that Black Business Month exists, right? Is because we know that almost 20% of businesses fail after their first year, right? But here's the tea. And this is very bad, like very poor tea, right? It leaves a bad taste in your mouth tea. 8 out of 10 Black businesses fail after 18 months of operating. Okay. So we know that 20% of businesses fail after year one, just generally speaking, all American businesses. When we talk though about Black businesses, okay, 8 out of 10, we're saying 80% of Black businesses that are started will have failed by their 18 months of operation. And so there's a real distinction I want to make on this live today. We're not using Black and brown as a catch-all. And I think that's why some of these issues in Black businesses have gone unaddressed, because when we do come to the table to talk about them, we're not speaking singularly. We're speaking as kind of in a general fashion to address kind of the majority of issues. And the majority of issues are a lot different than some of the issues that, Black business owners experience, from loan bias, from, support. But I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on and on. I won't stay there, but here are the stats that I want to offer. When you talk about the circulation, and let me just say, black consumers have a buying power, I think, of $1 trillion. I know $1 trillion, right?
Absolutely.
And with that buying power, there's so much that we could do with it. Okay, I'm talking about people who look like you and I. I'm not talking about our Asian brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about, our Native brothers and sisters. I'm talking about Black business professionals, consumers. There's a lot that we can do with that buying power.
Yes.
Right? But here's the reality, okay? $10, imagine $10 in your pocket, Shay, right? $10 stays within the Black community, okay? After it is made, it stays within the Black community for 6 hours.
Woo.
For 6 hours. Yeah. Okay. As compared to, because you talked about Black and brown people, as compared to the Asian dollar staying within its community, or $10, right? Staying within its community for at least 1 month. As compared to our 6 hours. Right? Yes. You understand. Okay.
So I understand you.
Allow me, give me 1 moment, Shay.
Yeah.
Our Jewish brothers and sisters, right? $10 stays once at the point by which it is generated, it stays within the Jewish community for at least 20 days, as compared to our 6 hours. And so when we talk about Black businesses, it's so important for us to be making the distinction between Black businesses and Black and brown businesses, because there are some practices, I think, some enterprise practices that have served a lot of other communities very well. Oh, geez. Give me 1 second.
No worries. No worries.
Report of an emergency.
Well, so if you have not heard, like, that's significant. I mean, that is beyond significant, that the $1 trillion buying power in our community, and yet the money that stays in our community is on a fraction of what it is in other communities. You want to sit here and tell me that Black businesses going out of business has nothing to do with the business itself. It has more to do with our community supporting each other, hands down, right? 6 hours, that's a fraction of it. This goes back into why the chamber exists. We champion, we support, and we empower each other. And part of that comes into a matter of we patronize our own members. We want to see our own members grow and scale and become the next Fortune 500 companies. That's why this chamber exists. That's why we do what we do here in the Power Hour. That's why we bring on individuals like Mynesha Spencer to impart this social capital onto each and every one of you about how it is that we can grow and scale Black-owned businesses, Black-owned law firms, Black-owned auditing companies, Black-owned accountants, Black-owned professionals. Whatever it is that you do, if you own a business, it is about supporting each other. And it starts with, how do we get you in the supply chain in order to get the contracts and the opportunities that you may not have otherwise? Starts off with, how do we get you to recognize the resources that you do need in order to grow and scale and stop being the candle maker and be the candle CEO? Goes into the other part she said about sharing resources, right? We got to be able to share the resources we have. So when the dollar comes into, oh, here we go. We got her back. We got her back, folks. I'm in my diatribe because Mynesha got me started. And once I get started, it's hard to get off on how we need as community to support each other. Mynesha, you got new...
Shay, thank you for taking it away. I really appreciate it. This is part of when I talk about support, right, in Black businesses. Our firm has only been in the state of Nebraska now for about the last 3 years on contract, but about the last 19 months or so on like with a physical presence here. And so we share an office, a co-work space. We have not formalized like business plans. We're still working with our commercial realtor to try and figure out where we're going to kind of plant ourselves. But this is part of what I'm talking about, right? And why support is so necessary. But anyways, fire alarm has gone off inside of the co-work space. And so all of my business suite mates, we're outside. So I'm happy to finish this, but this is also, I think, demonstrative of, if nothing else, the perseverance, right, that Black entrepreneurs have to have. You set out with a plan, things don't go accordingly, you need to pivot. Of course, I had no safety alternative in place today, and so we're outside, but we'll make do. We'll make do, I promise.
No, and I appreciate you coming back, because Lord knows no one wants to hear me go off on what we already know. And that's why, For instance, I know this coming Sunday we have a Room for Roots is having their fundraiser, and once again, they were on last year, and this goes back into too often entrepreneurs come to the chamber and say, "Chamber, give me your support," and it kind of goes into matter of the chamber is there to unite you to other people to get your support.
That's right. Yeah, and you need to be able to leverage those resources. I don't know that we even think about it that way, but a lot of times people think simply having a membership will alleviate all the issues that they have in terms of seeking clientele, generating revenue and the sort. And that's literally just an invitation to start really taking advantage of those resources. I will say, specifically speaking, our experience, the very first contract that our firm has had in the state of Nebraska was with the Greater Omaha Chamber in the year 2020. And so we worked on contract remotely for a couple years. It wasn't until last year, the top of last year, that we relocated, or at least some of us relocated to kind of set up a firm presence here. And so I'm grateful to be in this space. I will say, just shameless plug, Bridget, if you have not met her with Room for Roots, she is everything. Her personality is everything. This is a sister who leads with data and statistics. And of course, you should not be fooled, right? Data drives business decisions. No matter what field, no matter the professional industry in which you work, data drives business solutions. And so you should be thinking from that lens. But Bridget is a wonderful person to know. And any new entrepreneur, any entrepreneur in their infancy, whether Black, whether brown, whether white, I implore you to get in touch with Room for Roots, because the work that they are doing is incredible, and we will be in attendance on Sunday for sure. That's what support looks like.
There you go. And this goes back into how do we get back into the part of you don't know what you don't know. So you got to network, and how we network is we do roll calls, right? We show up to show out, and in order to show up, you got to actually participate. It's not enough just to say, "Hey, here's my card that I'm a member of the Midlands African Chamber." It's a matter of what you put in is what you're going to get out. And right now, the chamber puts out a lot. We put out a lot. We got roll calls every month. We do power hours every month, and which is right here now. We are imparting social capital to say enough is enough on the boohoo, woe is me, I'm a victim, no one's teaching me. Show up so you can get those resources that other people have, including Bridget Belsky. And I'll say this, and you're right, shameless plug, right? Because I specifically know that Bridget will work with anybody. You just got to want it.
That's right. I believe the same about a number of different professionals, Kareen included. I think about all that you all are doing for Dell over at the chamber. Like there's a number of individuals I think who will. Allow me one moment.
Yep. And you're absolutely right. The chamber is just a medium. It's a means to get connected to the resources that you may need in your business. And it goes back into you may know enough about the widgets, the services you may be providing. But the business side of it is where the chamber is going to connect you to people who can grow and scale your business. And in order for the next Black Chamber of Commerce, this Chamber of Commerce, to usher in the next Black Wall Street, we need more business owners, which means we need people to understand what it takes to manage and grow a business.
Absolutely. And I think in order for those individuals to know what it takes or learn what it takes, wisdom, information has to be shared with them, right? Wisdom imparted upon them. So when we talk about individuals not knowing what they don't know, literally, I did not know what I did not know. I remember reaching out to Frank Allen at the chamber. I remember reaching out to Winsley Duran, right? Helping individuals as they come to us. We want to be featured in your supplier diversity log. Well, do you have these certifications? No. Okay, well, I need you to go get them. And I'm not just going to send you out the door and say, go get them, right? I'm going to connect you to individuals. I'm going to set up a meeting. I'm going to make sure that you have some FaceTime with individuals. I'm going to ask the questions that I think would be beneficial for you to know answers to, right? Because you may not even know how to formulate those questions. Something as simple, I was leaving out of the gym, shameless plug, Top Flight Fitness is the only Black-owned fitness center, fitness company for adults in North Omaha. It is the only Black-owned fitness program for adults in Omaha. I was leaving out of the gym the other day, speaking with an old friend from high school. We're now all grown adults. Her daughter's starting kindergarten. And she's talking to me about this business plan, but that she needs some help and she doesn't know how to. I sent her a template, sent her a business plan template. So a lot of times people are not asking. I would say specifically Black entrepreneurs are not asking for a handout. They're simply asking for a hand up. Something as simple as a business template, shoot it their way. So when we talk about sharing resources, it's more for sure than grants and loans. Sometimes it's just imparting the wisdom that you have. It's knowing, sharing the statistics. Hey, by month 18, 80% of Black businesses, they don't make it. What can we do to make sure that you're still sustaining yourself come month 19? There's a number of different things. And of course, I can take this conversation in any direction, Shay. So I want to yield. I know we've got 10 minutes left.
Yes.
Help me.
So
looking for, are there questions in the comment section?
Let's talk about solutions. Some of these solutions are driven within, the opportunities you have here in the chamber. What are some other solutions to get these business owners to grow and scale or create other businesses or other entrepreneurs?
It's a wonderful, wonderful question. I think number one, we need to support those existing Black businesses. Bottom line. And what does support look like? It's using this powerful platform that the Midlands African Chamber has, touted, has built up, right, and allowing a Black entrepreneur to come on here and share, my wisdom, my information, what my company does, and the sort. That's what support looks like. Yes, free support looks like sharing a post, commenting, but in all actuality, when we talk about generating revenue and trying to shrink that racial wealth gap, okay, because we need to understand that if every single Black person in America only spent money with Black people, we would shrink the racial wealth gap. We would probably put a dent in it, but we wouldn't close it, right? And that's because it takes all of us together, right?
Hey!
All of us together to really do this. I try and tell folks all the time, if Black people could end racism, we would have done it already. It takes all of us, right? The collective effort of all of us. And so beyond grants and loans, support for Black businesses looks like sometimes a referral. I talked about our industry and how we've been able to sustain ourselves here into year, 3 or 4, working with the Greater Omaha Chamber initially and expanding across chambers, working across different professional industries, McCarthy Construction. You name it, referral after referral. And you get those referrals by literally quality services, quality goods, right? Excellence and professionalism, okay? Operating from that standard of excellence, knowing that, man, if I set a deadline, or if we agree upon a deadline, you're going to get it on that day, if not three to 5 business days before, right? That deadline was set. So it's all of these. That's what support looks like. In addition, I would say, beyond referring a friend, leave a comment, leave a review, share your experiences. A lot of people underestimate, the power of just that social kind of stamp, that social validation, if you will, or professional validation. If you're working with a company and they've really enjoyed their experience, they really appreciated the sort of solutions you've brought to the table, ask them for a reference letter, ask them to support you or endorse you on LinkedIn. That goes a long way, and it's of no cost to anyone, right? We're not charging you for it. They're not charging you for it. Ask that. That's what support looks like, and it's very tangible. It's very feasible. I'm sorry, not tangible, but feasible for folks to be able to help in that way. Beyond support, my second solution for sure, again, is to create more Black business owners. And you do this by standing up mentorship programs like the one in which the Unitech Institute offers here in Omaha locally. You do this by standing up mentorship programs like the Mountain Plains Supplier Diversity Council has. I actually just matriculated through their 3rd cohort. MBE Universities, Minority Business Entrepreneurs University, and Belinda Hooks, right? Another shameless plug, will take you through curriculum that's offered by way of professors at the University of Nebraska's College of Business, Dr. Del Easley, Dr. Shana Reed. There's a number of individuals who are invested in this. They understand that they need to create more Black business owners. The list goes on. I've got a number of resources that we can tab, but then my last recommendation, outside of support and creating more Black business owners, is to literally, and I don't know how I want to say this, but I guess it boils down to sharing resources. Sometimes it's not a loan, sometimes it's not a grant, sometimes it's not a supplier diversity log. Maybe you're a trademark attorney. Maybe you're saying, I'll offer you a free trademark if you win this Pitch Black competition, or whatever it is, whatever services or goods that you have to offer. It's literally finding the value in that and trying to share that resource with someone. Now, if you know this is kind of your bread and butter, this is what you get paid to do, you may not be, you may not be able to offer some sort of resource like that for free, right? But you might be able to swap services. You might be able to swap goods. You may be able to negotiate, hey, a partnership program or partnership clientele where if we contract with you, we're willing to create this logo, but you'd have to bring us new business or whatever it is. I mean, you would try and customize, whatever makes the most sense for your business, but you literally should share resources that you have at your disposal, resources that won't impact you negatively, but would obviously impact the Black business so positively.
So we got 5 minutes left, and I know we've been on over quite a bit, and we had some technical difficulties and everything else. But no, you're good. You're good. Life happens, and this is what business is about. It's about flowing, right? You gotta be like water. You just gotta flow with it, right? And so the last but not least is I want to get to what type of tips do you have for our Black-owned businesses?
That's a really good question. First of all, I just want to say, if you are a Black business owner or a Black individual, Black professional operating a business, maybe not the owner, but you're operating it, right? I want to say that I see you, I value you, I support you, I celebrate you this month and all the other 11 months of each year. I want to say that all of us together, Co, will continue to support you all. And first of all, the first tip I have, I think you mentioned it, Shay, is for individuals to be featured in our diverse supplier laws. We want to support Black businesses. We know that you need the support. We know that 80% of us will not make it after 18 months, right? And so we want to try and be the difference maker. We are obviously taking charge or leading this initiative by having that diverse supplier log. And we want individuals to have their goods and services, products, whatever it is, even professional services, to be included inside that. And so my number one tip is to make sure that you reach out to us, get in touch with us, contact us online by way of social media or our email. And we, of course, can be found online at www.allofustogetherco.com. We try and do a very good job of showing up in spaces, roll calls, chamber meetings and the sort, to just get our presence out there and network with other Black business owners who are looking to have that sort of exposure, to be highlighted. The feature, of course, comes at no cost to them. And so that's one way. Please, 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 please invest in yourself, right? It costs you $0, just a little bit of your time, but become, featured inside our diverse supplier log. Beyond that, I would say another tip: don't sleep on professional certifications. If you're a Black business owner and you're providing anything outside of goods, right? If you're providing any sort of professional services, look into some professional certifications. It'll only validate you, I think, would increase clientele and really expand, business for sure. My last and final tip, I'll try and think of something that really will stick. I think I'll take it right from Malcolm X, who is obviously an Omaha native. You probably knew I was going here, Shay. Here's where the PBS docuseries really pays off, that my father forced us to sit through. I think it was his Bullet or Battle speech in 1964, right? So this is the same time in our nation when Dr. Martin Luther King is giving his I Have a Dream speech, or at least 1 year before, rather. I think Malcolm X says we need to re-educate, right? We need to begin thinking about the re-education of Black entrepreneurship. And we need to likewise, right, begin to impress upon Black professionals the importance of establishing Black businesses, right? When we start to think about integration, I mean, every single thing was integrated, from our public schools to nursing homes, hospitals, movie theaters, restaurants. Everything was integrated except the dollar, right? And so when we talked about integration, we were literally talking about leaving everything that we had built Black, okay, and moving into white spaces and taking advantage of white restaurants and the sort, not understanding what that did. It practically dismantled Black Wall Street, right? It practically dismantled the economic prosperity associated with Black individuals. And so I would say, if nothing else, we should be thinking about why it is so important for us to go in business. And I want to just end with, nothing says Black Lives Matter other than having your green dollar invested in a Black-owned business.
Can you say that one more time? One more time.
So for sure, yeah, nothing says Black Lives Matter than investing your green dollar into a Black-owned business.
Oh.
Nothing.
Eh,
Why?
eh,
Why do I say that, Shay? Why do I say that? Because when we understand the ramifications associated with wealth, right? Economic inclusion, right? We begin to dismantle so many other tragedies, like associated with, um, or travesties rather, associated with Black and Brown communities, such as poverty, right?
yes.
If I live in a poverty-stricken neighborhood, I'm probably the neighborhood is underfunded, right? I probably don't have a place to go outside and play. The school that I attend in is probably underfunded. I probably don't have adequate resources there. So when we talk about literally Black Lives Mattering to folks, we need to begin to think with our pocketbooks, if Black Lives Matter, right? And so, yeah, I will say one last time, nothing says Black Lives Matter like investing your green dollar into them, for sure.
And if you have missed any part of this, that is the part you should take home tonight and apply. This starts off with what this chamber is about, which is why we hold pitch black, which is why we do the roll calls, which is why we do the things we do in this chamber. And if you're not a part of us, I invite you today to join our tribe. Mynesha, it's been our time. It's been an honor and pleasure to have you. I'm your host, Shay Olafe. This has been another edition of our Power Hour brought to you by our good supporters, Wells Fargo. Thank you so very much. Until next time, come join our tribe.
Signing off. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Shay. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.